In this module, we're going to be talking a lot about password cracking and a few other things that kind of go along with it. What you're going to be learning, what it is, what kind of systems it can be done on, Windows, Linux. We're going to show you some examples of password cracking, the tools that you can use to crack passwords. Some of them are really, really cool. And by the end of this module, you will be cracking passwords like the pros. So let's get to it. All right, guys. So what is password cracking? You've gone through the first 3 phases: recon, scanning, enumeration, and now we're in the systems hacking phase. We want to be able to get access and escalate our privileges, so we want to be able to figure out how we can snoop around a system or take control of a system, and we need to know what the password is for generally root or administrator or some other high-powered user, whoever we can find, depending on where we are. Typically, passwords are the first thing you're going to come across because it's the first thing that happens when you connect to a computer or get to a terminal or a console of any kind. So, naturally, it's a very, very important piece of system hacking. Built into Kali Linux is a variety of different tools that we're going to be using and actually seeing some demos of, which is going to be really fun. I love doing these demos. There are a variety of different things that you kind of should know about what password cracking is and what passwords are. Typically, a password, if you've got a computer that's bought within the last, decade or so, has to have a password, or you run into them at least once. Letters, numbers, symbols. We all know that longer is better. Why is it better? Well, it takes longer to crack, for one. If you're worried about hackers locally or nosy neighbors or a ex-boyfriend, whatever the case may be, they won't be able to get past 10, 12 digits. Now, if you're worried about the government, you've got a whole different set of problems. But longer is better. The government has crazy, crazy data centers. If they wanted to turn all their resources on cracking some password of yours, sure, they could probably crack most people's passwords, but they have a lot better stuff to be doing, to be honest. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is when you see or hear about these password cracking techniques where they're guessing 1 billion guesses, it's not like logging into a web page and trying your username and password on Gmail's login screen 1 billion times a second. That's an online portal. You're trying to log in, there's no internet connections that fast. What they're talking about is an offline attack where you get what's called a password hash. And a password hash is the plain text of a password. Let's say it's chicken, CHICKEN. When stored in Windows or in other directories, it gets hashed when it's in, a stored mode. Hashing is a cryptographic algorithm that converts data, specifically being a password, into a fixed length string of characters called a fingerprint. So it looks like a code. It could be uppercase, lowercase, just a whole bunch of random, looks like garbage. Now, they use a specific algorithm to compute what that looks like. Windows, at least for one, does. And that's an advantage, and we have tools that we can actually use to decrypt that. And there are a lot of them. So in an offline attack, we would get access to, let's say, a Windows machine that we want to crack into the administrator account. Whether you can boot to it directly or you can get access, there are files and directories that you can get access to that will then allow you to take that file containing the hash of the administrator account or the user account and take it home and start applying your software, dictionary, word lists, and all of these different things that you're going to use to crack this password, whether it's going to take a day or a week or a month. But you don't have to be sitting at your client's office trying to do this pen test locally. That's the whole point. You get to take the stuff home. Otherwise, it wouldn't be feasible at all. You'd get caught immediately. It'd be the worst security consultant on the planet. Now, another way of actually protecting stored passwords is to salt the passwords. And that doesn't mean that they're bland in flavor. It means a salt is an additional piece of random text that gets added to the hash. So that way, if I were to use the same algorithm to encrypt your password, which is chicken, and let's say there's another user in Denver who has the same password of chicken, that password, when it's hashed, is going to look the exact same because it's the same algorithm changing the same word into the same cryptographic fingerprint. If I were to use a salt, Your password and my password would look completely different, even if the text version was exactly the same. That's why a lot of these companies will use programs like bcrypt and other methods to make sure that passwords stored are encrypted and hashed and salted. And that's something you'll notice in some of the more technical articles, security articles about breaches and things like that. They'll note whether they were stored in plain text or whether they were stored and hashed, salted, so on and so forth. Because basically, even if you knew that you and I had the same password, and even if you could generate 1 million guesses a second, it would take billions of years to try and crack some of these password lengths, just based on the way these algorithms work. It's kind of cool. Another style of attack is, so let's say the most common 1,000 passwords in the world are admin, secret, password, love, hate, sex, so on and so forth. People have already assembled word lists for guessing. People have assembled word lists related to different languages, different vernacular, different slang, so on and so forth. So you have huge, giant word lists. But there are also things called rainbow tables, which are already pre-computed hash tables of what those words already look like as hashes. So instead of your program or whatever you're using trying to take every word in a word list, convert it into a hash, and then compare that hash to what is in the file that you're checking, it's already done half of the work. So you can actually download rainbow tables, which are just huge lists of hashes, and run that against what you're trying to crack. And this is why people salt passwords, because it defeats these pre-computed rainbow table documents, services, and things like that. Well, without further ado, I think we are going to take the next lecture, which is going to be a demo of cracking some Windows passwords and some different ways and different techniques that you can do, and go from there. And that way you'll have something that you can practice and try in your lab and crack some of your other victim machines. I'll see you in the next one.